Hello, G fans. We're on episode 9 of the Godzilla dissection, or episode 10 if you want to include Godzilla the game dissection that I just did previously, but that's supposed to be its own separate thing. With that said, regardless, though, episode 9, I'm talking about Godzilla vs. Mothra. Keep in mind, for any fan who does not yet know, I'm referring to the 1992 film, not Mothra vs. Godzilla, the 1964 film. If you want to differentiate them a little better for those who are amateur, that's prick thing to say, I'm not going to say amateur, but those who are new to the series, you might know it by its American title, Godzilla and Mothra, Battle for Earth. And when I was a kid, I said, what a great idea, why not just shove the kind of like little subtitle thing on all of the Godzilla movies? Especially the Heisei, like call Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Battle in Time. Love it, right? Love it, love it, love it, love it. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Brother from Another Mother, who knows? The subtitle thing, Battle for Earth, was kind of cheesy, especially with the whole nature of the plot. So, while charming at a glance, I don't like the subtitle. The simple title of Godzilla vs. Mothra is much better. But getting to the review, this movie is... this is about midway into the Heisei series, basically. After the first... Yeah, this is the 5th film in the Heisei series. There's 7 films in the Heisei series, and 1, 2, 3... Oh no, this is the 4th one. 3 came after this one. So, the track record for the Heisei series at this point was doing pretty well, although Biollante had underperformed at the box office. Critically, it did pretty well. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah did pretty good, both financially and it was a pretty good movie, not as good as Biollante, in my opinion, but still very good. So, where does Godzilla vs. Mothra stand in all of this? Now, keep in mind, Godzilla vs. Mothra would be followed up by some of the best entries in the entire series, in my opinion, Godzilla vs. Destroyer and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, 1993, not 1974. I can't say much for it because of Space Godzilla, but that's a review for another day, maybe next time. So where does it hold against those films? Now, let me say this is the first Godzilla movie where Tako Owara would be here to direct. Kazuki Imura, who had directed and wrote Godzilla vs. Biollante and Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, still writing here, but not directing anymore. And he would go on to write for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah as well. Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Taka Owara would also direct Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Destroyer, and Godzilla 2000. I've already covered how I feel about Godzilla 2000 direction style, so we could look at Godzilla dissection for that one. But so this is his first take on the series, and overall, overall, I think he did a pretty good job. The movie's merits lie in the writing. For me, a lot of the characters here are very interesting and they stand out quite a bit, and that's why just one of the more enjoyable ones character-wise. There's a lot of very good acting in here, and the family dynamic added to the characters is what makes it really interesting. The whole man trying to reconnect with his family, it's a good angle to come by. It really is, and something you don't really see a lot in the Godzilla franchise as a whole, this whole family dynamic, or it's briefly referenced to, the brother and sister engage with that monster, stuff like that. Here, we see a dysfunctional family. Probably one of the few times you'll see that in a Godzilla movie, although it would come about in later films to an extent, but never quite the way we see it done here. So that's it. That's a very unique take on that. And, yeah, the characters are pretty good. I can't complain about any of them. I like them all quite a bit. People like to criticize Indiana Jones-esque beginning to the film, and yeah, it definitely was an homage, or whatever you want to call it. Straight rip-off, I don't know. In any case, it was an entertaining scene, and it introduced us to our main character, I guess you would call him. Now, this ironically I'm doing this film right after Godzilla vs. Hedorah, but this film's overall theme is mostly the same as Godzilla vs. Hedorah. what we're doing to our Earth. All this focuses more directly on deforestation and things of that nature. As the movie's main human antagonist, anyways, is of course once again a major corporation that's screwing the environment over. Which also kind of ties into Mothra vs. Godzilla, the 60s one, although the 60s version was a little more potent because that focused more directly on just corporate greed in general, not just environmentalism, which I don't think Mothra vs. Godzilla really focused on at all. Especially it was the 60s, that was more heteros thing. So the films are kind of similar in the theme-wise, but not really. This focused, like I said, more directly on Earth itself. Hence the cheesy title, Battle for Earth. Get it? Okay. Make sure you do. Follow this. Follow it. It's complicated. But yeah, the themes are different. I think Mothra vs. Godzilla is definitely a lot more powerful theme, most definitely. Although once again, protecting Earth environment is still a relevant theme. It's just not as potent to me as corporate greed and effects it has on everything else, including politics and all that stuff. Still, simple message, but it fits the story quite well. And the basic theme of it all is that if we don't do something about it, Earth's environment will conjure up ways to destroy us, which is represented nicely by Batra and Godzilla in this movie. That's what they represent, Earth's kind of way of, sticking it back to the humans. Especially, I love what they did with Mothra and Batra in this movie. Not that I'm into brush with the human character so quickly, but that's where a lot of the story lies. With the relationship between Mothra and Batra. Because I love how they redid the mythos. In the original Showa series, Mothra was just a god and didn't really explain anything about her origins or anything like that. She was simply a deity who ruled over Infant Island and then happened to interact with humans and came to protect them. Here, it's mostly the same, but they added a little dynamic, interesting war to the beginning of it. Basically, that being said, that the cosmos, an ancient race of people, the Earth conjured up by whatever means. I love how the simplicity of it, but also as a nice little, fantasy aspect to it, that Earth conjured up Batra to destroy the cosmos, who were at the time ruining Earth with their weather control device. And then, of course, the cosmos created Mothra. They duke it out. The ancient race was destroyed. Mothra and Batra are laid to rest. And then we move to the modern day. Of course, we don't see any of this, although it would be very interesting to see it, most definitely. But the basic point is that, one is humanity's protector, and the other is Earth's protector itself. Which, when you think about it, kind of add an interesting notion to it, because this kind of concept will be used later on, although to much greater effect, I could honestly say, in the Heisei Gamera series, where Gamera was created by the Atlanteans, and so was Gauss. And once again, one's meant to protect Earth, which is Gauss. Protects it in a very, Batra-esque way, although more directly eating people instead of just outright destroying them. And then, of course, Gamera, who is Mothra, humanity's protector, although once again, in a more gruesome way, he'll kill people to kill Gauss. But like I said, this is not Gamera Dissected, so I'll definitely do that series. Take a note. But anyways, this dynamic was very interesting, and to me, it was the best done Mothra backstory ever. Because after this, in both GMK and Tokyo SOS, Mothra's story once again be simplified down to being a protector, and that's it. I mean, Batra to me should definitely be coming back in a movie sometime soon, because he was such an interesting monster. In fact, I'll probably start with Batra for my dissection of the kaiju. Batra is one of those one-time only monsters like Biollante and Destroya, but he left a pretty good mark because he's just an interesting character. Design-wise, both in the larva form and the imago or adult form, Batra looks freaking amazing. He would also go on to kind of inspire Megaguirus in some ways, although he definitely has a more insectoid mouth, and Megaguirus has more typical, jawline, I guess you would call it. But Batra looks pretty freaking amazing. I love the color scheme, the black with the red and the yellow. It's really bold. And I love the personality they gave to Batra too. Batra kind of has an anger-esque personality. He just loves to fight. It does not matter the challenge, he'll take it on. Which includes Mothra, includes humans, and also includes Godzilla, which I guess he also sees as a threat to Earth itself. Which is true, Godzilla is a destroyer. He destroys everything in his path. So Batra really doesn't care about who he's taking on, he'll fight them. Whether it be Godzilla, Mothra, military, it doesn't matter. You gotta love him. Especially I just love the ferocity, even in the larva stage. It looks cool. It just looks amazing. That's why, once again, on top of it, I love Batra in the Godzilla the game because it really captured that. He's just really head on. He'll just take you on no matter what. Although it makes you wonder, though, in the past, well, I guess in the Imago forms, it makes you wonder how the hell did Batra lose to Mothra? But of course, if you played as adults, they'd probably be a lot more equal, but as larger forms, Batra is clearly much stronger and bigger, which is interesting to note. But with that said, yeah, Batra's good. The only thing I don't like about Batra is the recycled Rodan roar. Although they changed up a little bit, and they add different roars very sparsely here and there, I preferred he would have had his own roar, but overall it doesn't distract me too much. The reason why I don't like that because they had already recycled Rodan's roar for the Heisei King Ghidorah, but that was tweaked quite a bit to make it sound kind of different, although you could still tell if you're a hardcore Godzilla fan. Batra, they didn't tweak it as much, so it really stands out, like that's just Rodan's roar. And then of course we could hear it in the next movie, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, where Rodan would come back himself, so there it is. So if they bring back Batra, I prefer to have a new original roar, or at least tweak the Rodan roar a whole lot more. Make it deeper, make it softer, I don't know. You decide, Toho, you decide. But yeah, Batra to me is one of my favorite monsters. He looks awesome, he has an awesome backstory, he has a great personality. Defined being loyal, aggressive, but ultimately a defender, just not for humanity. So yeah, Batra's very interesting. Moving on to Mothra, basically the sister to, or I can say the good twin to Batra's evilness, or if you want to call it, it's not really directly evil though. Mothra design, to me, this has always been the weaker of the Mothra designs. I mean, I wouldn't call it bad. Was definitely made to be much cuter than any incarnation that came before this one and after. This Mothra has a really roundish head. It has the weird chicken-looking feet, which is awesome. I mean, it's kind of weird, but it looks cool. So yeah, why not? The design for the wings is incredible, and it moves really nicely. Like I said, but very cutesy. As far as Mothra designs, I'm pretty sure I covered this in my Tokyo S review. I think the 2003 variant of Mothra is probably the best one ever made. It really is. I love the look of it. This one, like I said, was definitely made to look a lot cuter, I guess, as a really sharp contrast to Batra's jagged skin design and lack of any fur. This Mothra looks way too plushy for me, but it's not a bad design, it's just not one of my favorites for this particular character. Also, this Mothra, I guess, would be, technically speaking, the most powerful version of Mothra. I mean, even Final Wars, Mothra was, of course, up to scale with all the bigger monsters, but she still had the basic attacks that she had in the previous film, Tokyo SOS, which is basically the reflective scales and wind and using her body itself as a weapon. Here, Mothra, like every other Heisei creature, has a plethora of beam weapons and interesting tactics. So it made the fight really interesting, and of course, those antenna beams make for nice additions to Godzilla the game. Of course, I went with that Heisei version. But yeah, this version of Mothra, like I said, summing it up, not one of my favorites as far as looks go, but overall pretty entertaining on screen. Godzilla. As far as Heisei designs go, I mean, of course, it's overall consistent with what we've seen throughout the 6 films, not counting Return of Godzilla, which is drastically different from what we would see for the rest of the Showa era, the whole 90s era of Godzilla. But this one, I do not like it as much as, say, the Biollante or King Ghidorah suits, and then I don't like it as much as what we would see later on. But, I mean, overall, it looks mostly the same, so I can't really complain too much. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about the design. I mean, it's just a little bulkier than what we would see even later on, I guess, until Burning Godzilla. Then that would be probably the bulkiest Godzilla suits ever. But it fits that image, though. This one is just, well, it adds a little dynamic, though, compared to Mothra and Batra, who he still kind of dwarfs in some ways. But I complain about this, because my only real complaint is just the sound of the the breath. I'm pretty sure audiences pay attention to that because this is the only Godzilla film where the beam would sound so odd. Godzilla films before and after this sounded the usual, breath sound effect. If you've seen this movie enough times, you know what I'm talking about. You watch any of the Heisei film, it has more of the fire-esque burning sound to it. Here it has a straight this beam like, I don't like that. So luckily this is the only film that experimented with that, and they immediately got rid of it because I guess no one really liked it. Which is fine with me. Good. This Godzilla film, which is funny because this would happen later on in movies like Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. But here, Godzilla definitely is not the focus. He's definitely an important part of the story to a certain degree, but he's definitely more of the big bad between the movies, that being more of the focus. I mean, the focus is on Mothra and Batra relationship. That drives a lot of the story. Godzilla's kind of there just like he's basically the force that's meant for the writing, obviously, to unite the good and evil of Mothra and Batra against one greater enemy. Which, overall, for writing ethic is really good. With that said, Godzilla won't be the focus like he was in King Ghidorah and Biollante, which he was the main threat. But overall, it works pretty good, though. Not to say that Godzilla doesn't get any proper screen time or anything like that. He definitely does. He gets a lot of screen time in this. And unlike King Ghidorah, you don't have to wait till the last, 40-minute mark for Godzilla to appear. He appears pretty early on. And, he gets a lot of great moments. You've got to love rising out of the volcano and then marching off into the distance. Really well done. He has some great shots of Godzilla, in this one, between the city shots and, of course, the shots by the volcano, like I said, where you just see the silhouette against the red. It looks awesome. Cinematography was pretty darn good in this movie. Now, with that said, so with all the monsters basically covered, I guess I should go to special effects for this one. I think it's pretty much noted that people know this was rushed into production after Godzilla's King Ghidorah. And if you didn't know, this was basically the highest grossing Godzilla film of the Heisei era. Not to say that other films would do bad, but this was the highest grossing. The only thing that beat this movie when it came out was Jurassic Park. So the movie was very well received in Japan. Very well received, because they bring back one of the most popular Toho monsters ever, Mothra. But you could see some of the effects wise. I mean, I'm just saying that in terms of like Mothra and Batra and their stiffness. I love these two characters in this movie, I love what they represent, but you could tell effects wise they could have done a little more with making them a little more animated. For example, if you watch, once again going backwards in time to Mothra versus Godzilla, that version of Mothra was very animated and it looked really good. It was not stiff at all. That version of Mothra was able to squirm around like a bug, move the legs a lot, twist its head around, flap its wings erratically when it got hit by the breath. Compared to what we see here, it's kind of a step down, if you want to say that. Because I love Mothra and Batra, like I said, but their legs don't really move often. Mothra, of course, would be very hard with those weird, like I said, chicken feet looking things. Batra too, it looks great, but he needed a lot more, it just needed to move a lot more. It looks kind of awkward nowadays when I watch it, like that's so stiff. The fights are still really good, and I love them, but they just needed a lot more movement in there. Especially like, well, I hate to keep referring to it, but back to Godzilla the game, and you look at it, it's interesting what they do with Batra, because in the game he uses like his legs to kick and like kick/punch the opponent, which is an interesting dynamic. You would think that would happen here. The only time they really use their legs for anything is when they, grip onto Godzilla to try and carry him out to sea. So, yeah. I mean, if they're making a modernized version of Mothra and Batra, they need to be a lot more flexible looking, to me. Look at what was done in 1964 and bring that back. The stiffness of the marionettes was a problem for me. Especially considering when you look at King Ghidorah, the film previous, that film had a lot of effects-wise that don't look too good in modern era, but King Ghidorah himself looks really great. He does the whole moving his neck around the snake-like way and flapping the wings and moving his tail around. Compared to that, King Ghidorah, what we see right here, is a problem for me. But enough going on about that. I should have also touched the story. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned the story a little more. The basic story is that A little on the backstory between Mothra and Batra, the thing is, a meteorite strikes the Earth, and as one character calls it, it's a time bomb for a bunch of other disasters that eventually happen. Humanity goes to explore the effects of destruction on some kind of island that all the destruction the meteorite caused, because the meteorite causes a bunch of problems like hurricanes and earthquakes. And what do you know? They discover Mothra's egg, a lot like the first film to introduce Mothra to the Godzilla franchise, Mothra vs. Godzilla. But then when they try and take Mothra's egg back to Tokyo, that's when a slew of problems, of course, occur. Godzilla was also awakened by the meteorite. Batra was also awakened by the meteorite. And from there, it's just a cavalcade of action, and it looks pretty good. And like I said before, interesting human dynamics thrown in between the divorced couple and their child, and then the cosmos, of course. I think this is the only film where they're not called the Shobijin or fairies, they're called the cosmos. They're the only living relics from their fallen civilization, which is interesting. Which I guess I should mention this before. Do I like the cosmos in this movie? Or I guess the Shobijin, but that's what they normally call it, but in this movie they call it the cosmos. It's kind of like Mothra. I don't say I don't like the look of these Shobijin, these fairies, but I guess I just leave it at that. I mean, in that Showa series, it was pretty simple. You know, they wore very colorful clothing, looked really good. Tell me which movie you're watching, of course. There are other movies where it's really simple, the design of the outfits for the Shobijin. And then by the time you get to Tokyo SOS, they're just wearing, you know, belly shirts and skirts, which, as hard as it was, you know, just modern era, I guess, make it simple, make it hot, whatever. Here, you know, not bad looking, not bad, but not my favorite design for them either. So, yeah, I guess this defines a lot of things with Mothra in this movie, you know, midsection, not disappointing, but not great either. And that's where the problems lie. But yeah, from there, I guess that's the story. Basically, you know, humanity created its own destruction, as they call it, and then Godzilla is also another sign of the problems of the times. And then once all three of them meet up, it's an epic battle. One of my favorites for the Heisei era, although still not as great as the physical fighting in Godzilla vs. Destroya, or Rodan vs. Godzilla, or King Ghidorah vs. Godzilla. To me, all those fights are better than what we see here, but this one is still pretty entertaining. A lot of stuff happens. And then that's what makes it interesting. Once Mothra and Batra team up against Godzilla, it makes it pretty interesting. I mean, I love they expanded on her abilities with the reflective scales, which would get put to good use in SOS as well. I missed it so much in GMK, but that's definitely another thing for another time. But here the reflective scales are used to really good effect, and we can really see how Mothra could actually be a threat to Godzilla with that tactic. So yeah, the fight was really good. Of course, like I said, without taking into account the stiffness of the marionettes, which they could have easily fixed, but lo and behold, I won't dwell on that for much longer. And yeah, I mean, that basically sums up most of the aspects of this movie. The music, Akira Ifukube returning to do it after it was King Ghidorah, he just came back. And the music is excellent. I love the Batra theme. I love the fact they brought the military march back for this one. And of course, I bring a lot of great music that you hear in Mothra vs. Godzilla back for this, but revamped for the 90s, and it sounds great. Every time you hear Godzilla's theme, you just want to march along with it. It's one of my favorite 90s scores for this era of Godzilla. But like I said, compared to what we'd hear in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla and Destroya, does it hold up? Yeah, it still holds up. It's still really good. It's just, I guess that's the way I sum up this movie. It's just, to me, it's not in a lower tier or something like Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, but it is not as great as what came after it and some of what came before it. So, rating this movie, I'll definitely give it between like a 7.9 and just a straight 8 out of 10. Definitely like a B-. This Godzilla movie, like I said, they could have done a little more in certain aspects of it, but overall, it holds up pretty well. It's definitely one of the better entries into the series. It doesn't match up with what was done in the Heisei series, but it also inspired a lot of other things. But like I said, Mothra's design could have been improved. Batra's and Mothra's movements could have been fixed quite well. They could have done a little more with that. But overall, it's pretty good. I like it. On a side note, though, the dubbing for this one is pretty bad. I don't like it. a lot of Heisei movies I can deal with the dubbing. This is one of the ones I cannot. I just don't like it. But overall, the writing for this movie is pretty solid. Special effects, for the most part, are fine. The score is fantastic. And, yeah, this is a really good movie, as far as I'm concerned, Godzilla-wise. It's really good. Like I said, bring back Batra. I'd love to see him redone. That story is so good. Mothra has not had an as interesting backstory ever since. Not to say they haven't done her any justice in GMK or SOS, but this is an interesting backstory with, a past, as we would call it, But in any case, Josh signing off, and I'll let you guys know next time. Next time, I believe it's going to be another Millennium film, I believe. No, a Showa film. So, I'll make it really random, as I promised, and make it interesting. See you guys later.